Hello and welcome to Protect and Prevent. This podcast is brought to you by Million Kids, millionkids.org. My name is Opal Singleton. I'm the president and CEO of Million Kids. We're an organization that is dedicated to keeping kids safe from predators. It's not just me, by the way. There's a team of 8 of us, and many of the team are retired law enforcement or active law enforcement, and one's a private investigator specializing in child sex crimes. I myself has been in the business about 15 years. I want to talk with you today about an issue that we discussed last week, and I really want to take it a bit further because I've had a lot of time to think about it. So, my third book is coming out. It's already out on Amazon. It's called Digital Warfare: Our Kids on the Front Line. You may be surprised to find out that I am not against technology. In fact, this is the first generation in all of history that is connected to the entire world. And quite frankly, we are going to have to teach our children how to live in a global world with all the bells and whistles and all the advanced technology in a way where they won't get violated and they won't use the technology to exploit or violate someone else. And so that's what I really want to talk about today is for parents. First of all, last week we talked about creating a healthy relationship with your child as they go online. I'd really like to also extend that in this week about recognizing dangerous behavior online. So, to back you up a little bit, since it's been a week since we chatted, my thinking here is that this redefines the relationship. As you read the book Digital Warfare, you will understand that the world has completely changed in the last 18 months. And so many of us don't recognize it. The world is completely connected by internet now, so that when your child goes online, they are online with 5 billion other people, very close to getting to 6 billion. And some are good people, and some are not good people, and some of them are terrorists, and some of them are organized crime. And they're all on there in this world together. So we have to teach our children about healthy relationships online, about having a good reputation online, about how to recognize when someone might not be in their best interest. Just the same as we teach people not to open things that have a hack in them, we really need to have open conversations with our kids. But to do that, we need an understanding of the world that we're putting them in, because we are putting them online where they can be reached by people in Nigeria that are organized criminals that want to make millions of dollars simply by seducing our kids and getting them to send a nude. By the way, this is called financial sextortion. And if your child doesn't know about financial sextortion, or you don't know about financial sextortion, please contact us and let us get you educated, because about 45 young guys in the last couple of years have taken their own life due to financial sextortion, and we have read every one of those cases. And we say to ourselves that, and the parent will say, I never heard the word, my son did not know that word. And I say to myself, how can this be in this day and age when we have so much information and so many ways to get that information out there? So financial sextortion is basically people from organized groups in developing countries, and they pretend to be a hot 14, 17-year-old girl. Usually they're almost always a friend of a friend, and or at least will pretend to be, and they may know quite a bit about you, because all you have to do is look yourself up online, look your children up online, and see what is available out there for anyone to see. In fact, that might be a good open discussion for all of you as a family to have. Look yourselves up online and say, look at all the information that's out there. Anyone in Pakistan or Nigeria or South America or Russia or Iceland or anywhere could pretend to be a friend of a friend and make you believe they know you. That is because you live in a global world where so much information is out there about you. In many cases, your address, you have geolocation software. All your gaming has money transfer. And our kids have been learning to pay in Bitcoin and money and Apple Pay and all kinds of Venmo and everything else long before we did. So that makes it easy to blackmail someone. So, what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about the younger kids because one of the things that's changed in the last couple of years is inexpensive devices. Everyone has one. I literally saw an iPad holder on a baby stroller the other day and about pulled my hair out. I'm like, wait a minute, this is going way too far. But our young kids are going to be exposed to technology. So I always suggest to you that if you're going to put them online, use something like CyberDive or Kids Nanny or a Bark phone or something like that. But you know your child better than anybody else. Before you put your child online, think about this and discuss it between your family. How mature is that child? How good is their judgment? How good of decision making? Are they risk takers where they're liable to try something out just for the fun of it and not tell when it goes wrong? If you have them on little kids games, make sure that those games do not connect to the internet. There have been some tragic cases of very caring parents who thought they were only putting their child on a device that wasn't connected to the internet. You need to know there's a huge difference, mom and dad, between a device that's connected to the internet and just a little kid's game. So pay attention and pay attention regularly because these kids are good and they know how to use technology better than you do, regardless of how young they are. The next thing that I would share with you is that our team has been looking at something that really concerns us. That's putting it mildly, okay? We try not to get emotional and yell and scream and all that sort of thing because this stuff is coming at parents hard and heavy every day, something new. But we learned something all about understanding how programming takes place in a lot of kids' games. And a lot of this has to do with something called open AI. And we hear that term, and it wasn't until we stopped in our tracks and said, exactly what does open AI mean? Well, OpenAI provides people who are not employed at companies as programmers to be able to develop apps. It has all the bells and whistles, all the programming, all the coding, all the stuff they need to be able to develop an app. And the reason why this is so important is one of the things we discovered recently is that two of the biggest apps out there that our young kids are using, use open AI developers. So one of them is Roblox. So what I have seen over and over and over with parents is parents are very conscientious of putting a young child online. They want to play Roblox. Everybody thinks Roblox is a young child's app. And so they think, okay, everybody else has got it. My kid can have it. They can share it. They can talk about it. And there's a lot to learn. I don't disagree with that. But the scenario I normally see there is that the parent will check out the games the little kids are using in the beginning. And they mean to get back to the rest of it, but parenting gets busy. It really does. You got a lot of responsibility and you're going a lot of different directions. And you may not get back or have the time to actually play a game of Roblox with your child to make sure it's okay. You may do it the first week, you might do it the second week. But pretty soon you go, oh, they're playing Roblox. That's okay. I played it. It's all right. What you don't understand is only about 15% of those kinds of applications are developed by actual employees of Roblox. They use independent developers with open AI. So that means that, and so therefore, while they have contracts and agreements and stuff like that, there is no guarantee that that program that your child is using is going to be all the same precautions as the game that you originally looked at. So, what I'm telling you is before your child is allowed to go from game to game to game on any child's device, first of all, find out if they use OpenAI developers. And second of all, limit it only to the games that you play with your child. And so that way you can evaluate whether it's a good game and a game that has, educational information and personal growth kind of thing. Or is there something going on where they're trying to maybe lure your child into transferring to another app or another game, and maybe doing some things that you're not comfortable with? So anytime your child is on young kids games, and it isn't just Roblox, by the way, Roblox is the biggest, but there are many examples of this. The same kind of thing on character AI. If your child is talking to a character on character AI, it is time, first of all, to have long conversations about interacting with bots, because your child needs to understand, and by the way, so does grandma and grandpa, that if you're dealing with one of those characters, whether it's character AI or some other app, that they are recording everything you or your child says. And one of the statistics that I saw recently that was disturbing to me was something like 60% of young people that go on to like character AI share very personal information, including how they feel and like that. That is a bot that, number one, is recording everything you say. And second of all, they're responding with you taking the lead. If you say, I'm sad, then they say, well, I'm sorry you're sad. Tell me about you being sad. And you go on and on and on. And so your child will have what they consider to be a personal relationship with a character. Recently, we understand now that Character AI is another platform that uses open AI developers. In other words, only 1 out of 8 of the characters that your child might be talking to was created by someone employed by that company that matched their standards and had their same qualifications. The others are independent developers. And so if your child is interacting with anyone on Character AI, I highly suggest you get in the conversation and you have that dialogue with them. Now, again, this is not a wag the finger moment. Okay. This is a explore with mom and dad together. Let's talk about this, honey. First of all, you've just told them a whole lot of information about yourself and that you have a little sister and you're not doing well at school. They all now will begin to share that information around the world. Additionally, you are giving away private information to a piece of technology. That is not a real person that is there. And what is that person's desire that developed that technology? And what are they going to do with the information that you give them? You see, we have to take a look at that. If 1 out of 8 of those developers are not people employed by that platform, then every parent who has a young person, especially a prepubescent young person who should not be on there at all, by the way, if they are, you need to start being there with them all the time in every conversation and share it with your young person. This is something new, honey. It's completely different than anything's ever happened to a young person before you. You're the first generation that's connected to the entire world, and you're the first generation interacting with bots where you share all your information that can go around the world. And you also take it back to you have an online reputation. And you're very young. If your child is too young to understand about an online reputation, then I suggest they not be on there where they're on the World Wide Web. unless you're on there with them. So some of the things that happen, and I talked about how to recognize dangerous behaviors. So let's start with some of these. First of all, your child will probably think that they're talking to someone like themselves. Usually the recruiting and the grooming of young people often starts as early as 11 and 12 years old. Now, I've seen multiple cases, way too many cases, where kids 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are being groomed and exploited by people halfway around the world. And they are receiving videos that would qualify as child pornographic material. Okay. And they haven't even yet understood what a healthy adult relationship should be. This is the danger of putting prepubescent kids online without a parent knowing who they're talking to and what's going on. Now, I am saying that if you're going to do that, you are going to need to dedicate a lot of time and involvement to understand what's going to happen. So it usually starts very early. And one of the things that we have seen in all the cases that we've worked with is kids that are 10, 11, 12 years old, and some that are 7, 8, and 9 know exactly how to make a video and send it to somebody. You think to yourself, my heck, they can't. We saw one case where she literally sent 2 videos a day to the pedophile for more than a month before the parent understood just how serious this was. She actually uvu'd this guy, and she was only 8 years old. And uvu, no, in that case she was 9. I'm sorry. And uvu is like Skype or it's like Zoom. It is a connection online. The victim may think they're talking to another teenager. The perpetrator will most always try to get them to move, either to change apps, go to private messaging, or go to direct messaging. So, mom and dad, you need to understand how to check direct messaging if you're checking your child's phone. If you don't understand how to do it, ask some of the teenagers at your church, maybe. I often think that it would be a real ministry for your church teenagers to form a group to educate adults about how all this technology works. So if your child's online and you don't know how to check a direct message, or what an encrypted app is, and you see that they are going on DMing somebody or going on to an encrypted app, then you need to ask for help and counseling so that you can explore it. Do not ignore it. You know, there are many ways to see warning signs if your child is in danger. One of them is for you to frequently be involved with their phone and with their characters and even their games. The other one, of course, is to watch for behaviors. Have they changed their behavior? Are they shutting down? Are they getting angry easy? Do they seem extremely anxious? Are they shutting off from other people? Maybe they're not going to school like usual, or they're missing some classes, and you're saying, are they being bullied? What's going on here? But it could be that somebody's threatening to share photos. And it might not be photos that your child sent, because now we have deep fakes with artificial intelligence. But it doesn't matter whether they sent the photo or not. The impact, the shame, and the embarrassment on the victim will give you an indication that something is wrong. And I've seen cases where these young girls are running around the school going, it's not me, it's not me. There's photos going all about me at school, and it's not me. One of the discussions to have with your teenager before they ever go online is empathy, digital empathy. Number one, it is against the law for you to take an image and make it a pornographic image. Okay, especially if they're underage. That's against the law. But more importantly, let's talk about our values, who we are. Do we like to hurt other people? Do we like seeing other people hurt? Or does it bother us to see other people hurt? And if you see everybody laughing at someone at school because there's a nude going around, is that okay? Or do you feel bad for that person? And if it's somebody can you have empathy with them? One of the things that I share with parents and with teenagers is if you are a victim of cyber exploitation somehow, ask for help and ask immediately. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be humiliated. Don't be ashamed. This is this thing of financial sextortion. We need to change that immediately. We want to educate sports coaches so that they can talk to all the guys. A nude online, even a partial nude, is literally a trap. Anybody who's asking for that is not anybody you're ever going to love and admire or want to impress. Because once they have that, they have the ability to change your life to the awful in a heartbeat. And so we have to start to have that conversation about why you never want to send a nude and why you don't want to receive a nude. If you have that, then you know that that person doesn't care about your reputation. And next, you could become the victim of sextortion. So if you become a victim of sextortion, even if you're totally innocent, or maybe you sent it, please ask for help. That is the most important message. Do not get embarrassed. Do not take your life. Do not take extreme action. Please trust me enough to come to me so that we can deal with it. You are not their only victim. And it is important because if you will come to me, we can take your device and we can get law enforcement to find out who it is. And it's most likely some sort of telemarketing center in Myanmar or Nigeria or Ivory Coast or one of the places, South America, and there are other victims. By coming forward, even if you're innocent and it's out there, by coming forward, you can help save other people and you can certainly save your own life. Now, I'm going to tell you that not every time will your child be willing to come to you. There might be a history where you scream and yell and blow up at each other. I hope that's not true. I hope that you can find ways to have a conversation. But if your child goes to someone else, a teacher or maybe a school resource officer or even another parent, that's okay. They reached out for help. They were willing to understand that they had made a mistake. Now, maybe they're not willing to risk getting your disapproval yet. And you have to accept that sometimes that happens, but reward them that at least they reached out for help. But I do hope that you'll have enough conversations in advance to say, look, you know, you've never done this before, and I've never done this before. Both of us are going to make mistakes, but I want you to make me the smartest parent in the room. I want to understand what this is all about because I want to help other kids also. And I want to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. But if it does, I am here and will know how to handle it. So take a look at how you react on this. Keep an eye out for their behavior. If they become very secretive, that's a sign something's going on. You know it. You're a parent. Maybe they can't sleep. Maybe they're getting up in the middle of the night trying to access their phone to check it to see what's going on. Because I'm assuming you no longer let your child sleep with the phone, I hope. Okay. They may be complaining of headaches or stomach aches, or maybe suddenly they can't eat. They may start cutting. If you see self harm or cutting, stop right there in your tracks and say to yourself, this child needs my intercession, but they need to be able to trust me to handle it intelligently. So keep an eye out for any kind of cutting or self harm. There are many indicators with cutting, okay? It could be that something's going on that they can't say out loud themselves, and so they harm themselves for that. It could be that maybe they're in some sort of deep trouble and they don't know how to ask for help. And it could be that they are connecting with someone online who's directing them to self harm. And there are terrorist groups out there, one of the biggest is 764, that teach kids to cut and self harm as a way of control and a manipulation. But if you see them suddenly needing a lot of alone time, sneaking in their room, trying to get up in the middle of the night to connect with somebody, those are huge warning signs on there. It's important that you sit down and say, I know you pretty well, and I see a change in you, and it concerns me. I'd like to know what's going on. Can we talk about it? I don't know what it is, but I hope that you can trust me enough with it, and I'll do my best not to overreact. But I really see something that's going on with you, and I'd like to be able to help you. So keep an eye out for signs of distress with your child, signs of secrecy, signs of borrowing somebody else's phone, spending a lot of time at somebody else's house where they might be able to see something. It's very important that you reassure your child that they're living in a world that nobody's ever lived in before, and they have good judgment, and that they want to do the right thing, and that you believe in them. If you don't know this by now, Million Kids sells challenge coins online. You can go online at www.millionkids.org and buy them. They're $20. They will never expire into your children and grandchildren's lifetime. But they say, I believe in you, and stand tall, you are loved. Reassure your child that you are there, that you're willing to listen, that you want to be able to help them. Reassure them that while this may look like an overwhelming issue at that time, that all of this is new to all of us. And we will learn, and we will explore our way through it, and we will all get better. If you've given your child a device, I highly recommend that you stay involved with that device. Now, I know your child goes, we always check on my phone, Mom. What are you looking for? What are you trying to nail on me? No, that isn't it. It is that this is a completely different world now. As you're online with 5 billion people, you're the first generation to experience artificial intelligence. You're the first generation that has geolocation software so anybody can locate you or me. We're the first generation with artificial intelligence where they know everything about us, and they make it seem like they already know us. They know all of our awards, they know where we live, they know where the parents work. So reassure your child, you've never been here before, and neither have I. And I want to walk this through with you, and I want you to educate me. You may have younger brothers and sisters that need me to be smart, okay? So if you see bad activity, do not delete it. Do not threaten the person on the other end. Do not tell them, you little pervert, I know what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that, okay? But you can block them, you can mute them, and you should report them. But do not delete it, okay? Because that is evidence. In fact, I encourage you to screenshot it and then take the device and the young person and take them to your local cyber crimes unit or your local law enforcement if you're in a smaller town. The reason you want to do that is to document the evidence so that law enforcement can stand in place of your child. And that way, if you have not alerted the predator what's going on, the law enforcement can pretend to be your child and maybe be able to find out who these people are and keep them from harming hundreds or thousands of other people. The reason you screenshot it is that you want to keep the evidence because someday that can be used in a court of law. Believe it or not, in some of these financial cases, they've actually been able to extradite from Nigeria some of the predators, and some of them from Myanmar, and a couple maybe from Ivory Coast, not as good. So what you do at that point is you take your child down and report it to law enforcement. And I highly recommend everybody gets counseling. I recommend that the parents get counseling to discuss whether or not they handled it right and if they handled it okay between them. The worst thing you can do as parents is undermine each other about social media with your child. That isn't healthy. And I understand that some of you are in divorces or second marriages or whatever, but you need a collaborative discussion on it. And your child needs to be able to discuss his feelings or her feelings about it with someone else who's qualified. If you have younger kids in the household that you think have been exposed, remember your live streaming camera on video gaming works both ways. Then those children need counseling. But in the end, I encourage you, one, know your child and know your child online. Teach your child to watch for the signs to look for. Teach your child about having digital morality, identifying their values, and understanding the need to have a healthy online reputation. And teach your child that if they ever find themselves in trouble, that you will do your very best to be cool and calm and understand and be there for them. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you will follow us and get our newsletter at millionkids.org. You can write to me if you want to at opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. And I hope that you will share this podcast with everyone. I also hope that you will either go to Amazon or millionkids.org, okay, millionkids.org, and sign up for our newsletter, but look for our new book out, Digital Warfare. It's an audio book, it's a download book, or you can get it in a soft copy, and you can also get it on Kindle on Amazon. That is called Digital Warfare, Our Kids on the Front Line. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next podcast.